Good morning. Welcome to the fourth day of April 2018. In Genesis 27, Jacob takes Esau's blessing. My name is Kurt Bell. I'm the host of Freeway Bible Study, a daily walk through the Bible from Genesis through Revelation. Long project, probably about 5 years altogether I'll be doing this. I'm an atheist, so I don't believe the supernatural stories in the Bible. Don't believe in the existence of God or heaven or a soul or any of that stuff. But I'm interested in the story, and I want to understand it well so that I can see its relation to so much of my culture, and also so that I can speak in an informed manner when talking with others about the subject. So let's move on now. So in this particular chapter, in chapter 27, now we're more than halfway through Genesis now. Esau and Jacob, the sons of Isaac, are grown men, and as we know, Jacob previously was able to wrestle the birthright from Esau, the older son, by virtue of a bowl of porridge, basically of lentil soup. So we have one, not really, but really didn't deceive it. It was really Esau's fault for going ahead and accepting that offer. So we have and we know from God's words that the older will serve the younger, and of course Esau is the older. So this is all according to God's plan. It's supposed to be laid out this way. Or maybe it's simply God's foreknowledge of how things would work out. So now in this chapter, Isaac is very old, and he's summoned Esau, his older son, to him. And you may remember that he favors Esau for Esau's ability to hunt and provide fresh meat, venison in particular, to his father. And Isaac summons Esau, and there's a dramatic bit where he says, "Son, come to me." And Esau says, "I am here, father." And he says, "Who is that?" He says, "Esau, your son, your firstborn." And he says, "I would like you to go. I don't know, the time of death is upon me soon." So Isaac says, "And although I don't know when it is, I think it's soon. Will you please go and take your bow and your quiver and go and hunt some venison and bring it back to me cooked the way I like it, and then I'll give you my blessing." And so Esau, very excited, does just that. He departs, grabs his weaponry, and heads off into the fields to hunt. Now, when this transaction occurred, when this exchange occurred, Rebekah, Isaac's wife, happened to overhear, and she went to her favorite son, Jacob, which is the younger son, but younger by just minutes. Remember, they're twins. She goes to him and says, "The time is at..." Excuse me. She speaks to Jacob now and says, "The time is at hand. Your father's death is near, and he's ready to give his blessing to Esau. And here's what I want you to do. So I want you to go to the flocks and get 2 lambs from the flock. Bring them back to me, and I will prepare them for a savory meat offering, or not offering, but a meal, like in the way that your father likes it." And Jacob perceives the deception in this, and he immediately says, but how can I do this? For father will likely touch me and determine that I'm Jacob, not Esau, because Esau is a hairy man, and I have smooth skin. And the mother says, "Don't you worry, I've got this all figured out." So he goes off, Jacob goes off and gets the lambs, and I guess slaughters them and brings them back, and his mother prepares them. And in a very short order, the meal is ready. And now, in order to disguise Jacob's identity, remember, Esau is hairy, Jacob is smooth. So in order to disguise that, she takes the skin of the lambs that were killed, and she drapes them over his arms, Jacob's arms, and across his neck, because these are the places where Isaac, who I guess is pretty blind at this point, will likely touch his son. So then she puts on the disguise, puts the disguise on Jacob and gives him a platter full of meat and some other goodies, I imagine, and off he goes. And he enters the tent of Isaac, his father, and says, "Father, I'm here with what you've requested, and I'm eager for my blessing." And Isaac then commences to enjoy his feast. Meanwhile, talking to his son, Jacob, a.k.a. the deception, of course, being that he's Esau. Now, Isaac isn't, that feeble yet that he can't figure out, he doesn't know one son's voice from another, because he actually detects that he's speaking to his son Jacob. He knows his voice, and he's confused, and he says, "But who is this? You're speaking at me with Jacob's voice. Come near." So Jacob draws near, of course wearing the skins upon his arms and his neck, and his father reaches out to touch him and feels the hairiness of his arms or neck or wherever he touched him. And he realizes he's still confused. He says, "Well, you sound like Jacob, but you touch like Esau." And he decides that it actually is Esau. And the deception is a success. And then Isaac then whips out his poetry card and, his little beret, and flops that on, and, a little drummer in the back. I don't know why am I hearkening to a beatnik situation, but he's getting kind of a lyrical, and he says kind of, and I will, because actually in the Bible, in the New International Edition in particular, it breaks this piece out into a poetic verse. And it's actually, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it is something about, and you will be blessed, and your brothers houses will serve you, and you'll be enriched in slaves, and anyone who curses you will be cursed indeed, and anyone who blesses you will be blessed indeed. I mean, it's really powerful, and all the while I'm wondering, it's like, wow, where does all this come from? I mean, do believers actually think that there's power in blessings and in conversing in curses? Because remember, that's the thing that I didn't say this before. That was what Isaac was afraid of, was that his father would find him out, or Jacob was afraid of that his father Isaac would find him out, and instead of giving him a blessing, he would give him a curse. Do we actually think that there's something to that? So is there some supernatural power in blessing and cursing? And if so, back in the day, does it still exist now, or is that heresy, paganism, whatever, blasphemy, blessings and curses? As a father, can I bless my daughter? Can I curse my daughter? I don't know. Anyway, it opens up a whole bag of questions. There's a highway patrol between these two trucks up here. Interesting. So then he gets the blessing and he steps aside, right? And so enter stage left, and now exit stage left. Now enter stage right, almost immediately after Jacob departs his father, who's now, nicely full of meat, and had a great meal, and he's just laying there. And we know that he's laying there because it earlier says that he's asked to arise when Jacob arrives with the food. He says, "Rise up, my father." So I guess Isaac is not feeling so good, and it wasn't feeling so good before, and is laying down. Anyway, so here comes Esau now. He's been out. It took him longer because he had to actually go hunt the meat, right? So he goes out and he went hunting, and he comes back with the meat. And he prepares it, and he enters the tent, and he's so excited because he's delivering what his father asked for, and he's so excited he's prepared to receive his blessing. And, "Oh, my father, here I am," I'm paraphrasing, with what you've requested. And Isaac is immediately confused. What? Who are you? "It is me, Esau, your oldest son, bringing you the food you requested that I may receive my blessing." And then Isaac is visibly upset. Says he's trembling now. This is the father. Isaac is trembling. He realizes that he's been deceived. But what I found curious was that though he's been deceived, he realizes he can do nothing about it. It's like a blessing seems to be a one-way thing. I mean, you give it, or a one-time thing. You give it and you can't take it back. You can't exchange it for a curse or nothing. It's done. Because then he says to Esau, well then who was just here? Someone was just here, pretending to be you, gave me some meat and I gave them my blessing. And Esau was really upset. He's like, what? It must have been Jacob. He figures it out right away, and he's really wroth and angry now. And who can do this? Give another blessing to me, Father. And he's the first of 2 times he asked his father to give him a blessing too. And Isaac now is resolved, and he's saying, nope, my blessing is given. All of it, will go to all of my blessing will go to Jacob. And Esau's like, first, I was deceived out of my birthright. No, you weren't. You gave it up willingly. 2, now Jacob deceives me for my blessing. Yeah, that one actually happened. He really did deceive you. And now Isaac then goes on to reaffirm the fact that, before he says that, Esau says, but Father, have you but one blessing to give? I mean, it's like you can really hear it. It's just raising his voice. He's so upset. He's so upset about what Jacob has done, but he's also bewildered by the fact that Isaac appears to have only one blessing, and it's irrevocable. And that guy's got a GoPro on his helmet too. And so he does that, and then Isaac just comes back and says, nope, done deal. You're done. But he gives him a little consolation at the end. He kind of, again, he broke out his lyrical poetry bits, and kind of has about 4 lines, and at the end he says, but one day, the King James edition wasn't so clear, but the New International edition was. It says, the New International said, one day you will grow weary of the burden of serving your brother, and you'll break free of his yoke, not oak. You'll break free. So it indicates that Esau will one day break away from his requirement, per God's prophecy and Isaac's blessing, that he must serve, and all of Jacob's brothers must serve Jacob's house. So that's what that happens. And now Esau is very upset, and he resolves now that his father is nearly dead. As soon as his father's dead and they've mourned him, he will then kill Jacob. Now, again, Rebekah hears this. She must be spending a lot of time at the flap of the tent. She overhears this and runs back to Isaac and tells him, what's going on, that he's in great danger, that Esau is going to kill him. And she says, why don't you go away to our relative's place a couple of days away and stay there until I send for you. After Esau's temper has died down, when it's safe, you can come back. You go away and live there. And that's what's going to happen. Now, that's the end of the chapter, and it all ends. You think that's the end, but as the author of Genesis, or authors of Genesis often like to do, they add a little last bit that seems irrelevant, but usually has some continuity. And in this case, it's just a complaint on the part of Rebekah, Jacob's mother, complaining about her Hittite daughters-in-law, who are the wives of Esau. And she complains to Jacob, I hope you don't marry any women of these Hittites. It's going to be the end of me, the life of me, if I have to deal with any more of these Hittite women. They're just so much so, and it's really struck me. Well, one, it was comical, right? I mean, here we have this mother-in-law scene at the end of this great Shakespearean drama between the father and his sons, and then suddenly these mother-in-law complaints come in, and we also see now that there was a bit of a connection between the ending of the last chapter, Genesis 26, where there's that, again, another little blurb like that added in that said, and Esau married some Hittite women. And now we have, at the end of chapter 27, Rebekah complaining about the Hittite wives of Esau, and kind of suggesting to Isaac, please do not marry any Hittite women. They are unbearable. I just can't get over the way that there seems to be, it's like somebody was translating this or writing the story and decided they wanted to add a second line of continuity, but they weren't so bold as to go in and rewrite the actual text itself to weave the fabric in to the second story into the first story, but just added a small paragraph at the end of several chapters here and there to provide that. It really, maybe it was the style of the time, but it looks sloppy to me, and it looks like an addition. It seems like if you were writing the story with the whole thing in mind, you would weave it together. I keep struggling to think of a better analogy, but I think you get the point. And so that's that. So that's the end of Genesis chapter 27. Jacob steals Esau's birthright. Oh, no, blessing and birthright. You get them both. That's a twofer. Okay, everybody. Have a really good day. Make it a great day. Take care. Have a good life. Bye-bye.